Hey everyone, what's up and welcome. So yesterday we got the official gameplay reveal for Marathon, and I think we got more information that we could probably digest in a single sitting. From the gameplay trailer to the gameplay overview to the entire sit down with creators and seeing actual raw footage of people playing to the cinematic we got at the very end. There was just a lot, but I think a lot of us left the gameplay session very curious about all of the characters that we know we can play. The classes, the runners, whatever you want to call them, these are our choices that we're going to be having to make when we first boot up the alpha for the first time, which starts in 10 days from now. April 23rd, I think the test is going to be going on for 2 weeks from what I've heard. And being able to sink 2 weeks worth of time into Marathon is going to be a little bit surreal. It's going to be a lot of fun. You know, it's still a long ways out from launch, September 23rd, but who knows how many more opportunities we're going to get to play between now and then. Hopefully there's plenty. But I wanted to talk about all of the characters, the runners, and break down what they do in detail. I think a lot of us are immediately attracted to at least one of the runners, and knowing what they do in detail will help you come to the decision of whether or not you want to potentially main them or potentially consider another option. So we're going to go through every single character in the streamer breakdown of the gameplay. There was a couple moments, a couple of frames where they had hovered over some of the characters, and we're going to go through the abilities from what we know online. We have 4 runners that we know about in detail, and we're going to be going over their abilities today, but the game is set to launch on September 23rd with 6 runners, 2 of which we don't know a ton about so far, but we're going to focus on the 4 that we do know about today. Now, every character in Marathon is made up of 2 abilities and 2 traits, and we're going to get into Blackbird's first ability, which is called Echo Pulse. This is the ability to activate your shell's advanced detection systems that releases a series of pulses that'll reveal the location of anybody in the area. This seems like it's going to be a pretty strong ability. I mean, while your teammates are looting a room, you can kind of stay there on standby, and if you hear anything with your natural senses, that will prompt you to then activate that ability and see where the entire team is around you, or if there's a potential void who's sneaking up on you. I know a lot of people have been worried about that character. This definitely seems like the character who's going to be directly countering him. Next up, we're going to be talking about his tactical ability, his tracker drone. This is his second ability. You deploy a mechanized microbot that tracks down nearby hostiles. It's going to overheat targets who are hit in the blast. And if you guys don't know what heat is in this game, during the gameplay reveal, they kind of describe that heating is something that's going to be the cost or the penalty to activating a lot of movement abilities in the game. So Glitch, she's going to be a movement focused character. If you hit Glitch with this bot, she might not be able to use as many abilities or use as many in succession or rapid succession to get away, which could be the difference between securing a pick and getting their loot or them escaping. We're now going to move on to Blackbird's first trait now, which is kind of like a passive, and this is interrogation. When pinged by a hostile runner, you're automatically going to receive a warning in your shell's HUD. This is good because it just lets you know that someone has detected you. You may not know where from, but just the information alone will change how you're playing and make you a lot more aware of a potential threat. In addition to this trait, Blackbird also has the ability to finish an opponent, and when they do, they are able to ping the remaining members of that runner squad. So it's a really good information tool, not just for defense, but for hunting as well. This character seems like they got a lot under their belt and is going to be pretty strong. But that's not even the final trait. That was kind of like a 2-in-1 trait. Their final ability is called Stalker Protocol. This is after breaking a combatant shield, they leave behind a lingering holographic trail for some time. Once again, something that's aiding in more of a hunting tool. When you get a crack, you're going to be able to then follow the trail of the enemy to see where they potentially scurried off to heal up. And so that's Blackbird's kit in a whole. Overall, excited for this character. I'm not sure if this will be the character that I main, but like me personally, I am very intrigued by Blackbird because I do end up playing a lot of info-based characters in game, but Void is number 1 on my radar at the moment. And we're going to get into Void's abilities right now. Void was also the focus of that cinematic trailer they dropped at the end of the entire reveal, and I gotta say that trailer is what sold me on wanting to play Void. Just something about this character's aesthetic alone carries my entire want and desire to play this character. He has such like a stealthy aura to him, and he's just really fun looking. So Let's talk about his first ability, and that's going to be his smoke screen. The smoke screen is a disc that you're going to be able to throw, and it emits a line of smoke in front of you. This is nice because it literally creates a direct path that you could kind of trail down and follow. It allows your team to rotate out of some funky positions, and it'll carry you the entire way through. But it's also something that can be used in combat too, because it disrupts the optics of enemies who step inside of it. This will make people who want to chow you directly inside of your smokes a lot more difficult, and it's somewhat of a passive to the smokes that doesn't just directly help you as an individual, it helps you and your team too. I think in an extraction shooter like this, where being mispositioned can be the difference between you losing everything that you own, I think smokes are going to be a really effective tool, and Void seems like the focus character to carry that role. Being able to sustain in bad positions or rotate out of bad positions is going to be everything. Next up, we have his second ability, which is called Active Camo. This is going to be the ability to activate your shell's camouflage systems, pulling a shroud of invisibility over yourself. Now, from what I did determine from watching some of the gameplay and the trailers, he is completely invisible in this cloak. You're not going to be able to see Void, but they did make a focus on his footsteps. It's still audible, and depending on the surface you're walking on, if you're walking through water, you're going to be able to see a rippling effect or potentially the splashes of you running around, depending on the speed that you're choosing to stealth around at. This is something you're going to have to be careful while using, but could definitely be the tool to get behind enemies and secure an opening pick. This is also a good defensive tool. It can allow you to get out of some sticky situations. And although everyone thinks it's going to be overpowered and broken at first, invisibility, especially in competitive multiplayer games, always seems to balance itself out in some way or not. As people get better at the game, they're able to read the plays of a Void player much easier than you might think. So I wouldn't stress too much, but it does have outplay potential. Next up, we're going to talk about Void's first trait, which is called Shadow Dive. This is an ability you activate while airborne, and you slam a smoke disc into the ground, deploying a smoke field. This is pretty cool because who knows the limitations as to like how high you actually have to fall in order to utilize this. There's just going to be a lot of niche cases where this could be the difference between escaping and dying. Not only that, but it's activated while airborne, so I'm sure the aura farming and cinematic moments, it's going to be to the max. It's going to be peak, so I'm excited for that. And last but not least, I think it ties really nicely into Void's final trait, which is called Shroud. This is going to be the ability to automatically activate your shell's camouflage systems when entering any smoke. So all the smokes we've talked about in his kit, when you go inside of them, it automatically makes you invisible. And when leaving the smoke, the invisibility persists for a short period of time. How long that's going to be when we actually see it in game, we're not quite sure yet, but very strong. So he plays around his smokes very well. Dipping in and out of them is a great way to sustain invisibility and can allow you to make some pretty crazy plays. Moving it on now, we have our third out of 4 runners we know so far going into this alpha, and his name is Locus. His prime ability is called Search and Destroy. This character, by the way, seems like he's going to be the potential meta. He is very aggressive. He has a lot of speed and a lot of defense, and I'm picturing squads full of 3 Locus players that would absolutely run things down, and you'll understand why when we get into his abilities here. His first ability is called Search and Destroy. This is the ability to activate your shoulder-mounted missile pods, dealing sustained damage to targets, launching homing missiles, immobilizing, and dealing damage upon impact. Once again, this is a very aggressive character. If you see a group of enemies, you're going to be the one to initiate. Locus's next ability is called Riot Barricade. This is one of the coolest abilities I saw out of the entire gameplay reveal, and it seems like it's going to be super useful, not just for yourself, but for your teams in some pretty bad scenarios. This is the ability to activate an energy barricade that blocks incoming damage. It drains your tactical ability energy over time, and taking damage drains additional energy, so it isn't infinite. This is something that's going to be on a meter, but the ability to absorb damage for your team is going to be huge. And moving on to his first trait now, which in my opinion is strong enough to be an ability of its own, but it's considered a trait, is called Thruster. This is something you can activate while airborne to fire boosters that thrust you in the direction you are moving. You move incredibly fast with these thrusters. Like you can zoom across a battlefield. And from what I saw from the gameplay reveal, you can hold your ability, your shield up, while also activating this booster. So this could be something you use to charge at the enemy and take space extremely aggressively, or as a tool you can use to retreat and get out of bad scenarios. And last but not least, we have Locus's final trait, which is his tactical sprint. You can double tap sprint to move faster at the cost of generating additional heat. We talked about heat earlier on the character Blackbird. Blackbird seems like a good counter to Locus, because if Locus were to get hit by Blackbird's drone, he would generate even more heat than it already generates by activating this ability. But moving faster is always nice. Doing so at the cost of heat is something you're going to have to be cautious of. But overall, Locus seems like he has one of the strongest kits in the entire game. He's very movement focused, very speed focused, and he has defense as well. So, I mean, defense and speed together is always, I mean, to be honest, it seems like a bit of a broken combo, but here we are. We'll see how he plays out. And here we have our final runner that we know the abilities of so far for this alpha, who goes by the name of Glitch. I think a lot of people are very excited for this character, me included. They seem very speed focused and also hone the abilities to really disrupt enemy squads. I think this is going to be a menacing character to go against in the right hands. First up, let's talk about Glitch's prime ability, which is going to be her Amplify. This is going to be the ability to overcharge your movement systems. It reduces heat buildup of movement abilities and increases movement speed and weapon dexterity. Weapon dexterity being the speed at which you can reload your weapons, aim down your sights, swap your weapons. Differing from Locus with the ability to maintain all of your movement abilities, Locus just has the ability to use movement. Now, being able to chain together a bunch of different movements because of her prime ability is something we don't really know the potential of, but I'm sure we'll see very quickly in this alpha the extent at which people can use Glitch. Moving on to her second ability, her tactical, this is going to be Disruptor. This transforms your arm into a cannon and fires a high-powered energy projectile that's going to deal damage and push targets away from you. This is a really cool tool, once again, to disrupt the enemies. If you're using your movement to get in, you can try to get that initial pick, and when an entire squad tries to jump on you, you can push them back and use your movement to get out safely. That was by pressing her ability, but if you were to hold the ability, you could overcharge the cannon in your arm, greatly increasing the size and damage of the blast. This seems like something where if you had the jump on an enemy and they weren't expecting it, it could be something to initiate with and give yourself the advantage and potential opportunity to get multiple picks. It's very cool that there's variance within a single ability and how you use it. It gives the character a lot of versatility and kind of skill gap to them. Moving on to now her first trait, which are called microjets. You can activate these in the air to perform another jump at the cost of generating additional heat. This is a really cool ability and is one of the abilities that gave us our first glimpse into how deep character builds will get in this game. One of the developers said in the reveal stream that this character in particular has a modification they can equip to their body to convert her microjets into a triple jump. That is completely game changing. How you choose to navigate buildings or just the terrain that we're going to be encountering in general is evolved with a third jump. The potential for what you could do with this character completely changes, and I'm sure a lot of the other characters will also have kit enhancing build pieces that you can also equip, but this is just our first taste. And lastly, we have her final trait, which is called Power Slide. This grants you the ability to hit a supercharged slide that generates additional heat. Once again, you can see all of these cost heat, but she has the ability to sustain through heat. So I think Glitch is going to be a lot of fun, potentially even a fan favorite, the fan favorite. Everyone likes movement and she's going to move fast. So let me know which character you are most excited for down in the comment section. I've been pretty excited about Marathon. I think the reveal has only amplified my hype for the game, and we will definitely be covering it here on the channel. So if this is your first time watching, feel free to subscribe and turn on notifications to stay up to date with anything else we post Marathon related. And that's going to do it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed watching. I hope you guys learned lots about the characters in general. I feel like just from a first surface level glance at that reveal, it was still very in the dark as to like what every character did in particular, but now you know. So I'll catch you guys in the next video. Have a great rest of your day. Happy marathoning, happy running, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Have a great rest of your day. Keep up, stay up. Peace.